stops puberty blockers, Mr. Raskin? That was your testimony, correct?
When you
Did you testify that it stops puberty blockers?
Yes, and it does.
No, it does not.
It does.
That is not, it absolutely does not.
When you talk about chemical castration, what are you referring to?
It does not stop puberty blockers. It doesn't.
You're saying that
stops,
you're saying
stops
that,
chemical castration.
Well,
It stops chemical castration. That is very different than the use of a puberty blocker to slow down someone who starts puberty early.
you're saying this would allow.
This may look like just another heated argument over healthcare policy, but it's actually a test of whether Congress can write laws grounded in medical standards instead of ideological pressure. What's really being tested here is whether healthcare under federal programs will remain consistent, equal, and guided by evidence, or whether it will fracture based on who the patient is. This raises broader questions about constitutional fairness, equal treatment under federal programs, and whether lawmakers are crafting policy to solve real problems or to manufacture cultural conflict. In this video, we'll break down how this hearing exposes the tension between political theater and responsible governance, the deeper stakes for institutional trust, and what it tells us about the direction of U.S. healthcare policy in the years ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just be real quick for the American citizens and read the legislation. In general, Section 116 of Title 18 United States Code is amended to read as follows: genital and bodily mutilation of a minor, chemical castration of a minor, genital or bodily mutilation, except as provided in subsection G. Whoever in any circumstance described in subsection D knowingly performs or attempts to perform genital or bodily mutilation on another person who is a minor shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. Chemical castration of a minor, except as provided in subsection G. Whoever in any circumstance described in subsection D knowingly chemically castrates a minor shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. Certain offenses related to female genital mutilation, except as provided in subsection G. Whoever in any circumstances described in subsection D knowingly facilitates or consents to female genital mutilation of a minor or transports a minor for the purpose of the performance of female genital mutilation on such minor. I cannot believe that we literally have members of Congress, all of which are Democrats. Now, I'm not saying all Democrats support these procedures being done on minors, but this is ridiculous. These are minors. These are minors. And all we're saying is that you can't chemically castrate a minor and that you can't perform an irreversible procedure on a minor that mutilates their genitals. That's all it is. I can't believe that you defend your position on that. It's ridiculous. And to say that it stops puberty blockers is just not true. It's just not true. That's not what the legislation says, Mr. Raskin. It's not. Does the legislation say it stops puberty blockers, Mr. Raskin? That was your testimony, correct?
When you
Did you testify that it stops puberty blockers?
Yes, and it does.
No, it does not.
It does.
That is not, it absolutely does not.
When you talk about chemical castration, what are you referring to?
It does not stop puberty blockers. It doesn't.
You're saying that this, you're saying that.
It stops chemical castration.
Well,
It stops chemical castration. That is very different than the use of a puberty blocker to slow down someone who starts puberty early.
You're saying this would allow.
What just happened is a challenge to the integrity of the legislation itself. The question isn't only what medical care is being debated, but whether Congress is willing to impose different rules on different people using the same treatment. This matters because laws built on selective standards undermine trust in federal healthcare policy. And if Congress starts normalizing unequal access under Medicaid, it opens the door to broader discrimination in healthcare across the country.
Puberty blockers for the treatment of kids with gender dysphoria?
I'm not saying it allows it for gender dysphoria. I'm saying that your testimony is false. It does not stop puberty blockers.
But forgive me, I think you misunderstood my testimony. What I said was this would ban the use of puberty blockers for people experiencing gender dysphoria, and that is a drug commonly used for kids who are not transgender, because if they have early onset of puberty. So in other words, you're going to allow it to one population, but you're not going to allow it to another.
Okay, but it does not.
Here, the issue becomes one of equal protection. The argument exposes a deeper institutional question. Does federal law apply consistently, or does identity determine eligibility? This matters because once Congress codifies unequal standards, precedent follows. And that leads to a future where medical care isn't shaped by medical need, but by political preference.
Stop puberty blockers for early onset.
You think the family should be able to decide that? I agree with you in both cases.
I do not agree that a family should allow their child to be chemically castrated, nor do I agree that they should allow genital mutilation.
It's the exact same drug. It's the exact same drug. You're saying you would allow it for one purpose, but not for another.
It's not the exact same use. It's not the same use.
Well, thank you in any event for the correction, because I stated it properly.
I disagree with you, but you can, I yield the remainder of my time.
This is a pivotal moment because it highlights a struggle over decision-making power. The debate isn't just policy, it's authority. When lawmakers assert moral ownership over medical decisions, it shifts healthcare away from clinical expertise. The consequence is a government that increasingly inserts itself between patients, families, and doctors. That shift has long-term implications for every federal healthcare issue moving forward.
Gentleman yields the remainder of his time. Now recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Cannon, for her time of question.
And I would first yield some time to the ranking member.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the record, when I said I did 14 town halls meetings, it's been this year alone. And not once did anyone bring up any of this stuff. They all brought up, they want us to focus in on healthcare. They want us to focus in on the issue of affordability, not this bullshit. And I'm going to tell you, what this is all about is trying to get people to look over here, so so that they don't notice that you're doing nothing on healthcare, that you're doing nothing to address the issue of affordability.
This reframing matters because it challenges motive, not just policy. If hearings become tools of distraction rather than solutions, Congress fails its constitutional duty to govern effectively. The impact is broader than this bill. Public trust erodes, policy stagnates, and critical national healthcare issues remain unresolved. That's not just political friction, it's institutional failure.
Let's talk about the transgender community. I think it's a hateful thing to do. And again, I don't think the people are buying it. People know what's going on here. They know you're not doing anything on healthcare. And by the way, and that's the reason why Trump's numbers are in the toilet right now. I thank the gentlelady. I yield back.
Thank you. I have to say I'm kind of astonished at the attempts to characterize the issue of treatment.
What this entire hearing reveals is not just disagreement about healthcare. It exposes how cultural conflict is being written directly into federal policy. When Congress legislates based on identity instead of consistent medical standards, democracy shifts from guaranteeing equal protection to policing difference. That's dangerous for institutional credibility, healthcare stability, and constitutional fairness. The real question is whether lawmakers will choose governance over spectacle, responsibility over distraction, and equal treatment over selective morality. Accountability demands it. Democracy requires it. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA.